Good morning and welcome to the news, tabletop role-playing game news. It's Monday and we have all the post-Gencon, I spelled it wrong, Gencon news for you to enjoy. All right, so before we go to the big major convoluted stories, let's get the 100% guaranteed this is correct stuff out. All right. Kelsey Dion, Arcane Library, Shadowdark kicked major ass at the awards this year, pretty much swept the field, won every award she was nominated for. Congratulations, Arcane Library. Congratulations to our good friend Kelsey Dion. Congratulations to Shadowdark. Our good friend Victor, the Scrying Dutchman, also won an award, so congratulations to Victor. All the award winners, much deserved. Very few of the games nominated were Wizards of the Coast or D20 D&D associated. They're pretty much all other company stuff. And for the first time in a while, they were all actual games, not weird things like Alice is Missing or here's an award for making a notebook with a picture on it. This is just a notebook. Yes, I know, but it has a picture on it. This is just a notebook. Yes, but it's not a notebook. It is a journaling role-playing game. I could have got this at the 99-cent store and just painted a picture on it, right? Yeah, totally. And we're giving you an award for this. We are. Yeah, none of that this year. It was all actual product. I'm very, very happy to see that. Hopefully this weird time block we've had of the award winners getting awards for notebooks is over, and we will actually start seeing awards going to people who really deserve it, who are really making role-playing games, not the people who make the weird, obscure indie stuff don't deserve awards. But, you know, the ennies is supposed to cover the major stuff and not, you know, kowtow Wizards of the Coast, but also, you know, the book about the guy who wanted to get turned into a horse. That's not a role-playing game. And yeah, so there we go. Sadly, Cat Moreau, my birthday was not great for reasons. But yeah, I'm a year older. Who cares? When you reach my age, guys, it doesn't really matter. When you're 2, when you're 8, when you're 15, birthdays rock. But everything after 21 is just like, it's another year. I'm too old to give toys. And so we ate macaroni and cheese. We had ice cream. It was fine. All right. So that's the major 100% guarantee that is absolutely correct news. The other thing, of course, is announcements coming out of Wizards of the Coast / Paizo / the other companies / role-playing. So it turns out I actually did know somebody who was there, and they did text me a few times. It was like one of those 6 degrees of separation friends, but it was still knew somebody there. And the most interesting insight they had for the 2 days they were there was that there were way more board games than anybody expected represented. And 90% of the population was going to the board games. There were vastly empty role-playing game tables, role-playing game scenarios that weren't sold out, that people it just seemed that Gen Con this year was more about board games. And considering all the controversy and ugliness that has been associated with the tabletop role-playing game community, mostly because of D&D, but let's face it, there's some other guilty parties on both ends of the spectrum. I'm not surprised that people are getting tired of it and just like, I just want to play a game with my family and friends. I don't want to get involved with your political bullshit. You're just make fucking games. So it doesn't surprise me that more people are just like, I'm just going to play a board game. I can get more people to play. My family will play. I don't have to deal with Wizards of the Coast or anybody else's nonsense. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me. So a lot of board games. A lot of board games. Paizo announced their plans for the rest of the year and for going into next year with their big meta event, the Fall of the Immortals. Still not quite sure what the definition of a meta event is as opposed to just an event. So we have a couple possible ideas. One possible idea is the meta event of the world of the War of the Immortals affects not just the role-playing game, but they'll have other product that directly or indirectly interconnects to the Wrath of the Immortals. So you might see a Wrath of the Immortals board game, a Wrath of the Immortals card game, a Wrath of the Mortals DLC for their video game. You know, they have a video game, a Pathfinder video game. So that might mean what they mean by meta event, and that is represented in other things besides the actual adventure path. And that there will be other books for it besides just the adventure path. There might be a Wrath of the Immortals specific monster book. So that's one idea what a meta event might mean. The other meta event idea might be that, you know, everything that happens in the playthroughs might affect the story going forward. Because as you know, Paizo has an organized play, just like Wizards of the Coast and several other. So people all over the world get the exact same module to play. And then they submit their results and send it to Paizo. And it's all calculated and results in things happening and organized play stuff. Meta event might mean that they're going to categorize all the results, determine what the most popular result was, and going forward in the storyline, it will be that result. So, you know, to break that down to something you and I understand, multiverse, you know, you've got one multiverse where Bob dies, and another multiverse where Bob lives, and a third multiverse where Bob wasn't even there. So they categorize and calculate which was the scenario that happened the most, and that's the scenario that continues to affect the story. And let's say the story that happened the most was that Bob died. So 80% of the results was Bob died. So going forward, the official story will be that Bob's dead. I think that could be number 2. This is also the introduction of the rare character classes, which we still not quite sure what that means. But they are introducing rare character classes. So again, that probably has something to do with organized play, but we're not sure. They're also doing more stuff with the Teen Z setting, which is like, I can't believe they're still able to get away with this without people going, hey, you're, you know, cultural appropriation kind of thing. But I guess, you know, maybe people are over going that and just want to play Oriental Asian themed campaign setting where you fight Oni or whatever. I don't know. And they've got a board game coming out. They've got other stuff coming out for their existing storylines. So, yeah. Margaret and Tracy have announced a Dragonlance Chronicles is coming out. So a complete collection of all the Dragonlance early books and all the Dragonlance role-playing game stuff. Joe Mangiola is attached to that. As we know, the relationship between Margaret and Tracy and Wizards of the Coast and Joe Mangiolio has been very contentious. So now it looks like Margaret and Tracy are just going to continue to self-publish. Magpie Games has got a game coming out called Fallen London, the role-playing game based upon the text video game Fallen London. Free League has announced the 2nd edition of Alien, the role-playing game, just in time for the new Alien movie. And then we have all the Wizards of the Coast news. And the Dave Arneson news. So if you haven't been following the Dave Arneson news regarding the new product that's coming out that Dave may or may not have had any connection to from Inkbat Games, I've linked down below my good friend Diversity and Dragons. He covers it. So, you know, if you want to know what's going on with that, either, you know, follow the stuff that Diversity as Dragons already cover or the other people that are already covering it. But yeah, there's something going on between Dave's estate and a game that Dave may or may not have written, and the estate is contending that Dave had nothing to do with that, and Inkbat is releasing a product saying that it was. So whatever. Diversity and Dragons covers it. Link down below. All right, now we got to get into this thing, right? So this is going to become a regular thing, I guess. I don't know why we just didn't make a thing about it. It's time for another episode of That's Just Wizards. Hey, on today's episodes of That's Just Wizards, more shenanigans in the floors of Wizards because we have this thing. Everybody see this thing? Everybody and their dog seems to be talking about it all of a sudden, so you've probably seen it. If you haven't seen it, Wizards is up to their usual. A YouTuber by the name of Joe Farden, Jorphadn, was given or had a copy of the News Player's Handbook post Gencon, did the review as requested by following the steps that Wizards gave him, just the same ones that Dungeon Dads or Bob World Builder got to do their review, posted it, and got a copyright complaint against him from YouTube because Wizards is claiming that he's violating their copyright. The question, of course, is, but Wizards, you told him to do this. Now, this just started as just one guy, and there were a lot of follow-ups going, wait a minute, are you sure? That doesn't sound right. Why would Wizard give you this and then say you couldn't do it? I don't know, man. It just sounds weird. So some people are like, yeah, that's not what happened and stuff like that. And other people are like, yeah, I don't know, man. It doesn't really seem like that's a thing. So, yeah. But then more stories came out confirming that this did actually happen. So, yeah. And then some other people said the similar thing happened to him. Not the exact same thing, but the similar thing. So you got one guy who says he had to go back in and get rid of all of it. Another guy who said he got the same thing. He had to go back in and fuzz out the stuff. A third one says, well, I had to change the audio. So there's a couple different versions of the story, but basically it does seem to break down to some bizarre lack of communication between Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, YouTube, and the various YouTubers who were doing reviews. Now, we do know that people received copies of the Player's Handbook from Wizards to do reviews. We also know that if you went to Gen Con, there were 3,000 copies of the Player's Handbook available for sale. And we know some of those people were probably going to go through it on YouTube. According to the way this is written, it feels like Joe Fodden is one of the people who received the copy and received the specific instructions from Wizards of how and what they wanted to do, did what Wizards requested for them to do, and then got stabbed in the back by Wizards. He posted it. Other people have posted follows up. He reached out to Wizards. Wizards customer service claims they are researching it. Hopefully the strike will be withdrawn. But other people are saying, but no, so-and-so's got his video up and it's changed at all. So what's going on? Is this just another example of Wizards being its own worst enemy and cutting off its nose to spite its face? Or is it a symptom of a larger problem that we've seen throughout the past 2 years in regards to our friends at Wizards? That's Wizards. Where this lack of communication seems to be very prevalent, especially over the last 12, 15 months. And this is, again, Wizards' own fault. This is what happens, Wizards, when you fire 90% of your staff who actually do jobs, but keep your ne'er-do-well idiots around like Mackenzie and Crawford, who don't do jobs, who don't do work. There actually is or was somebody whose job it was to make sure mistakes like this don't happen. And you fired them. So what happened? Well, let's just look at the last time this happened. And it's probably the same thing. So you remember a few months ago when they did the thing about when the dates were going to come out for the new product, right? There was another convention, and at the beginning of the convention, they had the poster posted and on the YouTube and on the Facebook. You had the picture of the dwarf that got all the controversy around it, and it very specifically listed dates when the product was going to come out. But then Wizards said, oh, no, you have to change it. Those aren't the dates. So somebody had to go back in and change it, and they changed it. But then apparently Wizards said again, oh, no, actually go change it back. So this feels like it's the exact same thing. And this, again, is because Wizards has fired 90% of their staff, including the guy whose job it was to make sure things like this doesn't happen. All right. So this is another communication error due to lack of staff and due to the fact that Wizards is dumb. Wizards is just there's no excuse for this other than just dumb. You have one guy whose job it is to tell you what you can and cannot post. That guy isn't there anymore. So Joe Fodden receives copy of Player's Handbook. With Player's Handbook is instructions from Wizards or Skynet telling him what he can and cannot do and the way they expect him to present it. He follows the instructions as given, but because the guy whose job it is to tell you that this was okay isn't there anymore, either somebody at Wizards or somebody at YouTube sees this and goes, copyright violation. And Jafadin risks losing his channel if he doesn't take this down or change it. So just obviously, again, much like with the art and much like with everything else, it's just a communication problem between Hasbro and Wizards and the general public. And now you have YouTube involved too with algorithm and copyrights, and that's just dealing with yet another whole mess of chaos. And then poor Joe Fodden, who's just trying to do the job that he was told to do, gets screwed over. And then we're looking at other YouTubers who have various degrees of the same thing. And we're just like, this is Wizards fucking up again. It's the Pinkertons all over again. It's just the utter stupidity. And I can't believe there's even still people who are defending Wizards. And the only conclusion we can come for this, guys, is no matter how much money Wizards offers you, is it really worth it if you want to risk this? Because we know Wizards is going to continue to find shills, and we know there's still going to be people like Jeannie D who are going to continue to shill them. And Jeannie D is just riding the cusp, but she's one bad day away from Wizards going after her. And they've already dumped her once. I mean, remember Jeannie Darling? So Wizards has no problem turning on Jeannie, and I think Jeannie knows that. And I think all the others who have done the reviews knew or should have known that they're very really seriously risk having something like this or worse happen. I mean, everybody's jokingly saying, well, at least the Pinkertons didn't show up at your door, but there was a very strong chance that it could happen. The same thing. It could happen that, they would send people to go after you for printing the Player's Handbook. Now, the best we can determine as to how this is violating the copyright is either one, the idiot whose job it was to tell you not to do this, not being there. So the other idiot is saying, you're showing the pages of the product. People can copy those, screen capture those, and make their own. Well, that's not impossible. It's extremely difficult, but the editing material exists that you could, frame by frame, if the person showed every single page of the Player's Handbook for longer than 40 seconds, make a copy of it that would look, I don't know. I mean, you could do it. I don't know how great it would look, but you could do it. And also because you're basically reading off things, and people could go by what you're reading and copy their own. And therefore Wizards of the Coast wouldn't get their $99 because you just copied it from somebody else for free. And now I don't have to pay you the money. The only flaw in that logic is, of course, is that the SRD for 6 will be free. So I don't have to copy it from you reading it. I just have to download the SRD when it goes live in a couple days. And then I'll have the entire Player's Handbook minus art and minus every, specific things. But I'll be able to make a character, right? So if your concern is I'm going to make money, I'm not going to make money off of this. If your concern is I'm going to print out my own copy, I'll just wait to the free SRD. And if you didn't want me to do it, you shouldn't have sent it to me. But we did send it to you, but because the guy whose job it is to make sure nobody gets in trouble is gone. And the guy whose job it is to facilitate communication between Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast and YouTube and the streamers is gone. You fired all the people whose jobs are to make Wizards of the Coast work because you thought the computer would do it for you. And now things like this are happening again, and they're going to continue to happen. And the only thing I can say to people like Jeannie D, like Jafaden, like Bob Worldbuilder, like Dungeon Craft, like anybody who's going to receive these offers, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Oh, Roll for Combat's going to do a video for it. He'll probably have more information. He's got more of a connection to Wizards than I did. But basically, it's just a communication issue, right? And hopefully it doesn't get worse. Hopefully, the customer service people that he reached out to will be able to fix this. And he gets the strike removed. YouTube offers the little computerized apology. Maybe he has to take down the video. If he's smart, he will. Maybe he doesn't. Hopefully it will, not affect his ability going forward to make videos. But yeah, hopefully nothing awful comes out of this. And, whoever it is who's pursuing this bizarre series of events realizes that actually, yeah, they're not violating copyright because you told them to do it. And if your concern is that somehow I'm going to make a copy of the player's handbook by watching the video, you're going to make the information in the player's handbook free in a couple days. So yeah, okay, sounds about right. Yeah, it's communication. Which is, without any other name calling, it's just the people whose jobs at war is to make sure things like this don't happen. You fired. Wizards of the Coast, you fired, but you kept Mackenzie around. I say I'll sell out, but at this point I wouldn't sell out. Wizards could hand me a copy and say review it, and here's a contract in writing saying we won't go after you. It's not worth it. It's not worth risking it at this point because they're just a mad dog. You don't know what they're going to do. And as a company now just being run all on emotion, all on people with bad intent, all by, run by people like Mackenzie and Connie and Crawford, who don't care about D&D, don't care about the fans, just care about fulfilling this bizarre request from Hasbro and doing it the worst possible way. It's like they want their product to fail. They want the product to fail. And it will fail. We can go back to the start of this broadcast from the people I know who were there, who were saying the role-playing tables were empty. The board gaming tables are filled. If you're out there shilling thinking that Players Handbook 2024 is going to break the bank, it's not. Anytime you want to invite me to join on or you want to jump on my channel, Steve, let me know. You usually have a better handle on this than I do. So yeah, check out Roll for Combat's video about this. But yeah, hopefully it gets cleared up. Hopefully Joe Fodden doesn't lose. Hopefully all the other people don't lose anything. And this doesn't blow up as badly as the Pinkertons thing did. But it does shine a light on Wizards' inability to maintain the basic wherewithal of running a company. and keeping the fans happy and keeping your creators happy and just doing the little things you need to do to remain successful, including making sure that legal and public relations are talking to each other and then talking to the various independent contractors who are working with you so that situations like this don't happen. And in a normal company, there would be somebody whose job it is to make sure things like this don't happen. And Wizards had somebody whose job like this was to make sure things like this don't happen, but they fired him. I wish there was something else going on in the tabletop role-playing game news besides this, but there isn't. But it's still early, so you might get more stories from Gen Con. We're still not sure, what, if anything, was said at Gen Con about Critical Role or some of the other ones, what's going on with Stormlight Archives, what's going on with MCDM, what's going on with DC20, what's going on with the Diablo role-playing game. Yeah, they were there, but I don't know. We're still waiting. Meanwhile, my stuff's still for sale, and it's my birthday. So you should probably use the link down below to go buy stuff from me for my birthday. And that's this week's episode of That's Wizards. Tune in next week where we'll be more of the same.